All right, we are live. We are live. We are live. Today we are going to underwrite two properties today. Make sure I can. Let's see if this works. It's probably a little too loud. Just so you guys can kind of quickly tell what's going on here. So, all right. So here's what we're doing. We are underwriting two deals today in Florissant, Missouri. Part of my daily habits, just underwrite deals. So what I'm going to do is go through a particular area in Florissant, Missouri. And this is why I think this is a good area in the zip code. You're going to be able to see that some of the home prices in this area, let me see, I can just put on the filters. I'm trying to keep the screen a little bit shrinked for now, but let me just put on the filters here really quick, and then I'll reshrink it so it fits onto the Instagram items as well. So if you go to Google and you simply search for HUD FMR, you will be able to get the small area market rent. These are your ceiling rents for your affordable housing rentals. When you go here, I'm gonna go to Missouri, and then you can see that I'm going to St. Louis County. And I found 63031 because it appeared to be one of the highest rental rates in this area at 2,100 almost for a, there we go. So if you can actually see it. At about 2,100. So today I'm going to underwrite a property that looks like a pretty standard run-of-the-mill turnkey property. And this is a 4-bed, 2-bath, 6 Graybrook Lane, 63031. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this address. And what I always do is I always get the FMR and then I always get the market rent. So to get to the market rent, you can go to the market rent estimator on affordablehousing.com, plug in the address, put in the bedroom count, and then you're going to be able to see the rent. So within the county, 585 units for 4-bedroom property, 1958. It goes down 1842, 1739, and then 1376. Oh, that's a lot lower than I expected. Let's see. Interesting. Yesterday this was a lot higher. So we'll use 1300 as like the gauge later as sort of a floor, but this seems a little low to me just based on what I saw yesterday. So we'll see what happens. But then my ceiling is going to be 2100. So from here, I want to come up with a few different scenarios. So let's pull up 6 Graybrook Lane. So 6 Graybrook Lane right now is a pretty turnkey property. You look at the photos. Floors are done. They already painted the walls. It looks mostly, kitchen looks great. It essentially looks like it's ready for a move-in. Bedrooms looks fine. Really not that much big of a rehab here. Bathrooms are clearly renovated. You can tell by the finishes right then and there from the tiles. Vanities are updated. No big issues outside that I can quickly observe from just the photos. Siding looks okay, unless I get a contractor in there, they see something different. So 6 Graybrook Lane, it is 185 at $185,000. I'm just gonna leave aside like $3,000 versus like some miscellaneous stuff. I'll probably go into more deeper rehab later, but at 2,100 bucks, which is our ceiling rent, right? This is why I'm putting it together right now. Let's get our property tax numbers. At property taxes, we are at, let's see what we are at. 159 for property taxes. And then the insurance is 136. For 136, I added 20% premium, which is why I multiplied by 1.2. Sewer, found out that St. Louis County and St. Louis City requires the landlord to pay for sewer. That's about $65 a month, so I'm going to add that in now. Property management at 8% and vacancy at 3%. 2.5% closing costs, pretty standard, run of the mill. So if I am able to rent this property out at the ceiling rent right now, this would yield me a $394 cash flow, 394, and this is a 8.8% cash and cash return. Now let me make sure I write this stuff down. So at a 4 bedroom right now, so this is interesting, right? Yesterday I looked at some other properties that were a little bit closer, 1.59. Let me make sure I put this 1.59. 59, and now this is saying the market rent is 1376. This does fluctuate from day to day. And then the zip code is 1739. Makes sense. 1842, 1958. So those numbers were pretty accurate. So if I go to 3 bedrooms now, what do I see? 1547, 1443, 1416, and then 1219. This is weird, right? A rent's dropping there because I learned a analysis last night. So we'll see what happens. So usually if we do 90% of this as like a midpoint scenario, the ceiling rent times 0.9, that gets you to 1890. 1890 rent gets you 228 of cash flow, and that is now a 5% return. At a 5% return, that's going to be tough, right? Unless you really think there's going to be a ton of appreciation in this market, you might not be able to get much yield out of this property. And now look at the floor. The floor here on a 4 bedroom property, in Florissant, Missouri is 1376. If you're able to see it on the screen, at 1376, let's see if you can even make money on this property anymore. 1376, this is not good. So I don't like the floor here. It's not a great risk. 13, this is -3, -4, -4. So this assumes a purchase price. Let me write this down. Purchase price of 185. Okay. But what if I lower my prices? What price do I need to purchase this property at in order to yield me a higher return? Let's kind of see this. Okay. Well, if I buy this property at $150,000 and this was 2,100, I need to keep going down. 130. Okay, so at 130, 655. Right? With every single deal, there's always a number that makes it a deal. Now I'll just go back to 1890 again. This is now 15.1%. I want to lower this to 120. There you go. Okay, this is much more likely. So if I get this at 121, this is now a 17.5% cash and cash return, which is what my investors and I would like to look for. 17.6, excuse me. 532, that's good. 532, and is 1890. So if I think I can get 1890 for this 4 bedroom rental, that would get me to a 532. And now what's my floor? If my floor was still 1376, this would now be a 4% return. And now this is my cash flow at 126. So this makes me feel better. If I submitted an offer at 121,000, I would not be afraid if someone actually accepted my offer. Because at this point in the scenario, I'm like, hey, what is my floor? I think my worst case scenario in this scenario is that I make 4% on my money. That's not bad, right? That's not bad. Oh, and this was assuming 6.5%. So I got to update that to 7.5. And then all of a sudden, this is going to be a lot lower for our rentals. But point is, I don't think this is a deal. I don't think someone's going to accept a offer for $60,000 underneath their price, but I am going to put this on my favorite list, and I'm probably going to pay attention to it and figure out whether or not that is going to be a deal later. So I'm going to go ahead and close this property, and I am going to pull up next one. Let's do this one together. I started this template, but we can go through this together. All right. So what are we doing today? So we are going to go through this property now at 1464 Monopoly Drive in Florissant, Missouri. And this property has ceilings and flooring that needs work, and probably half the house. Okay. This bathroom looks fine. I don't know what happened. Maybe someone started to rehab and they ran out of money, or something happened and they just didn't manage well. I like this property because there's a garage here, so we can potentially convert this into an additional bedroom to try to increase the value here. This is a 3-1. I like to make it a 4-1 at the very minimum. So let's take a look at this. So our purchase price right now is $125,000. Okay, if the purchase price is $125,000 and we think that the rent is going to be, let's pull this up. So right, remember we had the HUD FMR 63031. The rent we're trying to achieve at a 4-bedroom property is $2,100. If it stays at a 3-bedroom, is at $1,810. So we'll run through a few scenarios. Like, what if we don't convert the garage? What would our return be? And what would our return be if we convert into a 4-bedroom? Okay, just because there's going to be additional expenses when you do that. So let's go to affordablehousing.com and let's type in all of our rents so that we can kind of capture this correctly. One second. So now we have the rents for this property. Let's go down and plug in all of the numbers here. You can see that I already got the FMR because I already did a analysis before in the zip code. 1547, 1443, 1416, and then 1507 in this neighborhood. And this is due to a 0.39 mile radius. So they already have 25 units within a 0.39 mile radius of this property, and they were renting out for 1507. Okay, that's my floor, in my opinion, because that's what the market rent is, and that's typically what a housing authority would determine whether or not your rent is reasonable for this area. If I turn this into a 4-bedroom, now all of a sudden the premium here is a lot higher. 1958, 1842, 1739, and 1979. At 1979, this is 1.46 mile radius. This is actually a lot higher, right? This actually gives me a much higher floor, and it almost de-risks my investment here a little bit. So let's first go ahead and analyze this property as is on a 3-bedroom property. Okay, we know that the floor should be 1970. Let's do a little bit lower, 1739. We think we should definitely be able to get 1890, but we have a good chance at 2100 in this scenario. So let's kind of go through the scenario. So let's put in our rehab costs. Let's make sure we get our loans correctly. So if you get our loans, this is going to be 7.5% interest rate. Assuming you're buying this conventionally on the market, we're going to use 7.5%. If you are using your W-2 income to qualify, this is currently at a 25% down payment. And at a 3-bedroom property, let's kind of go through the pictures together. So this is a decent neighborhood. I didn't see any boarded up homes. Great. I'll pull up the crime scores for you guys really quick. But this is going to be in a relatively safe neighborhood because the crime score is about 70. This is called Top Hat. If you click on the crime index. And here's where you see the crime index score is 70 for this property. 70, so you're below the national average. I would recommend you actually looking up the crime score for your home so that you determine whether or not you think it's a safe area for your home. So from that point onwards, we're going to look through the photos. So you can see that the kitchen looks solid for the most part. You don't really need to do much on the kitchen. There's ceiling work that looks like you need it for half the home. There's flooring work that looks like you need to do it for half the home. And obviously painting for at least half the home. Bathroom looks fine. No renovations there needed. Backyard looks fine. Cool. All right. So let's go through the rehab calculator. So this is a rehab calculator that I borrowed from somebody else, and then I added and put in my own spin on it to make sure it's making sense. So the roof, if I don't know if there's a roof issue, the roof looks fine. It's more like the ceilings that need issues. So I'm gonna assume I need about $1,500 to replace the roof, to repair any sort of issues with the roof if I need any. Okay. Then as I go down, I don't need to paint the exterior or anything. Garage doors look fine. I'm going to assume that I need to paint half the house. So at 1488 equals 1488 divided by 2 at $3 a square foot, I'm paying $2,200 to paint the place. Okay. Then I'm also assuming at $8 a square foot that I need to replace the flooring on half the house, which might be a little bit a little bit aggressive, but I want to be a little conservative here and just see what I need to kind of put in, because the whole point is for me to put in a average. So I don't need to replace any sinks. The range and the hood looks fine. I just kind of go through this process and try to figure out, hey, what do I need to do? We don't need to renovate the bathroom here on this property. Everything looks fine. We're not adding an estimated bedroom because we're doing a 3-bedroom analysis right now first. We're not doing a 10-bedroom analysis. Water heater, I didn't see anything in there. I didn't see any issues, so I'll put that as 0 for now. Assume there's no termite damage. This is going to get me to a $13,421 review. So at equals $13,421 review. If I get $2,100 rent for this property, this is a 3-bedroom. No, I won't get 2,100. I will get 1,810. Right? Just remember, this is a 3-bedroom property. The HUD FMR is actually 1,810 for this property. At 1,810, that's how you decide whether or not this is the ceiling rent for what you can achieve or what you can possibly rent with this property. So that's why we're going to leave this at 1,810 right now. Just give me 1 second. Something happened with my screen. Oh, 1 second. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to share my screen over. There we go. We're back. All right. So let's plug in our property tax numbers from Redfin. 166 is my property taxes. And then my insurance is 92. So I'm going to put a 20% premium on it, 92. Okay. When you go 92, add 20% premium. Let's make sure we put in the $65 for the sewer that we have to pay. Property managers at 8% and 3% vacancy. That seems pretty conservative. At 1,810, this is now a $433 cash, 433, and this is a 10.9% cash on cash return. If I do 90% of that as my midpoint scenario, equals 1,810 times 0.9, whoops, times 0.9, that equals 1,629. 1,629. This is now a 7.3% cash on cash return, and my cash flow per month is 290. Okay. If I use my floor, which is what I saw on affordablehousing.com at 1507, this home is now 4.86. Oh, 1 second. Hold on. I forgot. I did not put in the cost to replace the ceiling. So let's make sure we do this here. So there is some ceiling work. Where's my line for ceiling? Okay, ceiling. I'm going to assume I need at least about half the home to put in ceilings, and I'm assuming to put in ceiling, it's costing me about $4 a square foot. There we go. Now we're in business. Now we're at $17,000 for rehab. Okay, at 1507, let's do this over. 1507 That's how you can tell I did not script this, guys. This is why I do this live, because this is literally what I do every single day. 4.5. And then a 1629 with the updated rehab costs. 6.77, 6.8. This is now a $209 cash flow. Cash flow stays the same. Once it goes to 1810, it's 10.12. So the cash and cash is lowered because we increased the amount of cash investment into the property. All right, so now this is the other scenario. What if we turn this into a bedroom count, okay, of additional bedrooms? And this is purchase price. These were all 125. So I want to make sure I note these scenarios down so I know what constitutes a deal in this scenario. Okay. Now there is a garage here, so I'm gonna assume I'm gonna spend $20,000, which usually it should be less, but if I'm getting permits and stuff like that, it could be a little bit more expensive. So let's talk about adding an additional bedroom. I'm gonna put in a $20,000 charge to convert the garage. But now when I increase my expenses by $20,000, I will be able to justify getting a higher rent. So if I'm now getting a $2,100 rent for this property, what's the deal for me? So this is now a 10.54. Whoops. 10.5. The rent is going to be $2,100, and now this is a $662 cash flow a month. This is still a $125. Now my floor isn't going to be 90% of that. My floor is going to be $1,979 in my scenario. $1,979. This is a 9% return for $1,979, and my cash flow per month is $567. Okay, this is $125. And what I want to do is, okay, well, if I want to get a 17.5% return at a $1,979 rent, what do I need to purchase it for? Well, what if I lower this to $105? That's not low enough. I'd buy this for about $70,000. See how big of a difference that is? Well, this is assuming I can't pull back out any capital, right? So at 1979, 855, and now this is a 17% cash on cash return. If this was 2100, and I think I can get that rent, what if my purchase price is, yeah, I think 78,000. Whoops, 78,000. Great. So at 78,000, if I can get this property for $2,100 rent, assuming 4 bedrooms, I am now cash flowing $909 a month, and this property is going to give me a 17.5% cash on cash return, which is exactly what I want. So if I think that this property and my estimates for the rehab is correct, I would be willing to offer $78,000 for this home, which is listed for $125. So it might not even be a deal because probably someone might not be willing to accept that deal. So this is going to be interesting for us to kind of go through, and this is essentially how you learn the market. You try to figure out what you can do to generate additional income and go through all these scenarios to figure out whether or not something is a deal. And when you have the FMRs, so to kind of recap the process, right? Get the market rents first through affordablehousing.com. Get the ceiling rents first through the HUD FMR table. Look through the crime score. Walk the neighborhood of your property to make sure you're in a decent neighborhood. But overall, I like this neighborhood because you're kind of near a shopping area, and if you go out here, you see like some Chick-fil-A, you see a Target, you see Walmart. So you're not that far away from a lot of shopping areas. Not bad. Okay. And then you got to go through all the scenarios. At 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. Obviously, if you make it a 4 bedroom, what is the conversion cost that you are investing into the property to make it a 4 bedroom? So I think right now this property is probably priced too high given the amount of rehab that we need, but it might just require someone to walk the property and get you an updated rehab cost for this area. So cool. That's it for today. If you guys enjoyed this, please make sure you follow us on Instagram at Invest with Kent He. I go live here in the free Facebook group almost every day. So DM me your email if you want to get access to these calculators or just want to follow along and watch us underwrite a property every single day. So I try to remove the fear from people about taking action when investing in real estate. And one of the biggest issues is just recognizing when a deal is a deal. The only way you recognize a deal is a deal is by underwriting a deal every single day as a daily habit. I hope you guys do this alongside with me or just watch me every single day, right? So you might just learn just from simply observing and absorbing kind of my process and how I go through it. Long-term rentals are typically a little bit easier to underwrite, so it doesn't take as much time. But this is the game. If you want to get into real estate, you got to underwrite a deal every single day, and that allows you to have more confidence in whether or not you want to buy this deal. Please make sure you subscribe to our podcast. It's called Affordable Housing and Real Estate Investing on Apple Podcasts. Please leave a review on the Apple Podcast because we've had some haters there, and they've given us some feedback about. They've given us some feedback about they've been a little politically motivated, or they just don't understand. They don't understand that affordable housing isn't just guns, drugs, and drama. Sometimes they hear affordable housing and they leave a one-star review right away. So we really want your help there. And please make sure you subscribe. I think, Hector, you had a comment. What software? This is just Excel, unless you were referring to TopHap. TopHap is just a software system or public data website that you can see the crime scores. You can go ahead and get a 7-day free trial on tophap.com, tophap.com. So that's going to be your options, and you can decide whether or not you guys want to sign up for it. I just use it to quickly look at the crime score so I can figure out